Hey ladies and gentlemen, Mrs. Matheson here. We're going to be doing Unit 7, Notes 3 on arcs and chords. And so our learning target today is I can recognize and use relationships between arcs, chords, and diameters in circles. Okay, so let's just talk about some theorems. We're going to see about four theorems today. In the same circle or in congruent circles, two minor arcs are congruent if and only if their corresponding chords are congruent. So this is either in the same circle or in two circles that we know are congruent. Okay, so let's use the example to the right. If we know that chord FG is congruent to chord JH, or we can say that those are congruent if and only if we know that the arcs are congruent. Okay, so we can say FG is congruent to GH if we know that these arcs are congruent. So let's use that in an example. In the embroidery hoop, AB is congruent to CD, as marked with the little red lines here. And the measure of arc AB is 60. Find the measure of CD. Okay, the chords are congruent, so the arcs are congruent. So we know that the measure of AB is congruent to or equal to the measure of CD. So CD is also 60 degrees. Nothing too difficult for that one. Okay, let's look at this soon. It says in the figures, circle J is congruent to circle K. So these are going to be congruent circles. And the measure of, or the arc MN is also congruent to the arc PQ. Find PQ. Well, because we know that the arcs are congruent, we can say that the chords are congruent. Okay, so the chords are 2x plus 1, and we know it's going to be equal to 3x minus 7. So let's go ahead and solve for x. Minus the 2x, add 7, we get x equals 8, but our problem didn't ask us for what x is. It asked us to find PQ. So let's go ahead and plug 8 into PQ. So PQ was 3x. So instead of 3x, we're going to write 3 times 8 minus 7. 3 times 8 gets us 24 minus 7. Our PQ is equal to 17. Okay, so looking here at 3, in circle W, RS and TV are congruent. Find RS. Okay, so since the arcs are congruent, then we know that the chords are also congruent. I want you guys to use that in mind, keep that in mind, and try out problem 3 here for us. Okay, let's introduce another theorem. If a diameter or a radius of a circle is perpendicular to a chord, then it bisects the chord and its arc. Okay, so we can be talking about the diameter or just a radius as long as it's perpendicular, so it makes that 90-degree angle. So in our circle, so we can say if AB or CB is perpendicular to XY, which is our chord, then we know that XZ is congruent to ZY. So those are two parts of that chord. And the measure of the arc XB is going to be congruent to the measure of the arc BY. So we can say X, Z, and ZY are congruent, and XB and BY are also congruent. That only happens when it's perpendicular. Okay, so let's talk about this. This says if a perpendicular bisector of a chord is a let's start that over. The perpendicular bisector of a chord is a diameter of a circle. So if you have something that is perpendicular to that chord, it's going to be a diameter or a radius. So let's put that into some better words. If AB is the perpendicular bisector, so cuts into two parts, two congruent parts of XY, then we know that AB is a diameter. Okay, so using those two theorems, let's figure out these next couple of problems. In circle S, the measure of arc PQR is 98 degrees, or 98. So that's from here to here. It's 98. Find PQ. So we want to know what just part of this is. Well, because of this perpendicular bisector here, we know that it is going to be half. So 98 divided by 2, we get 49 degrees. In circle S, find PR. Okay, again, because of this 90-degree mark right here, we know that these two parts are congruent. So PR is 6, so that's only half of PR, so PR is going to give us 12. All right. In circle J, the diameter is 30 inches and KM is 22 inches long. Find JL. Oh, love this problem. Okay, so the diameter is 30 inches, but I don't see here and here's the diameter, so that's 30 inches. And I'm not going to mark that because I also see this radius here, and I'm going to mark that. And a radius is half a diameter, so that's 15. It says KM is 22 inches long, so that is this chord here. Now, we have a 90-degree mark, so we know that it's going to break KM up into KL and LM, and those are going to be congruent. So this is going to be 11. And it asks you to find JL. And I'm going to mark that with an X. Okay? I'm not going to go any further with this problem with you guys. I want you to come up with what you think the solution is for problem 6. And we will start there tomorrow in class. And we'll see you guys then. Have a good day.